Okay, it is 6:31. We will go ahead and get things going. So again, welcome to everyone joining us. Thank you so much for being here and for joining the Art Summit tonight. We're really looking forward to tonight's discussion with you all and just really grateful that you're spending your Tuesday evening with us. So thank you so much. My name is Haley and I'm going to help moderate tonight's meeting. And before we get started, we just want to run through some logistics with you all. So many of us are pretty familiar with Zoom by now, but we just want to run through what we're going to be using for our Art Summit discussion tonight. So we're using Zoom webinar for tonight's meeting. And most of you are joining us as panelists. So that means you have access to the chat. You have the ability to use the raise hand tool, and you can also unmute and share video, which it's great to see lots of you have your video on. So if you have any technical difficulties throughout tonight's meeting, we are grateful to have our technical support, Scott Burns, on the line. So if you have anything come up, you can either chat Scott directly using the chat feature. You can also call or text the number on the screen there. I also want to welcome any community members who are in the audience. It looks like we don't have any right now, but we actually might have someone who just joined us, but we will have some audience members just joining tonight's discussion to observe. So welcome, we're glad to have you here with us. Now to orient ourselves to the Zoom features in the Zoom panel here, I'm gonna invite everyone to open the chat box. And if you wanna use that drop-down menu to select everyone so that your message will be seen by all attendees. And then I would love for you to share your name and the organization that you are representing here tonight. Thanks, Carol. Welcome. Anne, welcome. Great. Seeing those come in. Wonderful. Great. Thank you all so much for being here. If you have any issues with chat or any other features on Zoom, again, just reach out to us and we can get you all sorted out. So before I hand it over to our City of Mercer Island team, I also want to invite you all to take a survey. So I am going to drop the survey link in the chat, and don't worry, you don't have to finish this right now. This survey will be open until Thursday, but the city wants to better understand the needs and concerns and priorities of arts providers in the Mercer Island community. That's one of the main reasons we're all here. So this survey will just help us gather some more information. We really appreciate you taking time to fill that out in the next couple of days. So thank you all again for being here. And I think we're ready to move forward, and I can hand it over to Sarah.
Great, thank you, Haley, and thank you to everybody who's here tonight. It's really exciting to see some familiar faces after a couple of years of not really getting to connect with people too much. I'm Sarah Bluvis. I am a project manager with the City of Mercer Island. You all have likely run into me through a variety of roles since my time here at the city, and I'm joined tonight by my colleagues Eleanor Knight and Ryan Daly, as well as several members from the Mercer Island Arts Council. And before we kind of launch into tonight's agenda, I want to introduce the chair of the Mercer Island Arts Council, Elizabeth Mitchell, who I think is going to provide just a brief welcome and hello to everyone. So Elizabeth, do you mind saying hi?
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Mitchell, and I'm the chair of the Mercer Island Arts Council. And I am so excited about tonight's Arts Summit, and welcome to everyone who's here with us participating tonight. I'm really interested just to hear what you have to say and what the Arts Council and the City of Mercer Island can help do to support the arts here on the island.
Great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. So you really alluded to why we're here tonight. Our ultimate goal tonight is to hear from all of you. You know, we at the city and the Arts Council have mostly been working behind the scenes the last couple of years in light of a certain global situation that all of us have been dealing with. For us at the city, that's really looked like a lot of rebuilding and resetting. And so this is a really great opportunity to hear from one of our communities on the island, the arts and culture community, about how you all are doing, what you have planned for this year and the coming years, and how the city and the Arts Council can support you going forward. So we did some introductions already in the chat. Make sure you keep your chat function nearby, because we will have some other questions to ask you later in the night. We're going to kick this off after I get off the screen with a presentation about our city arts and culture work. Ryan Daly, our recreation manager, is going to give you all an update on our recreation reset strategy, which has a lot to do with our arts and culture programming going forward as the city. And then we're really going to get into the meat of the night, which is why we're all here, is to hear from you all. Like I mentioned, there's city staff and Arts Council members on the call tonight. We're really here to facilitate a conversation about your needs and hopefully lead to identifying some opportunities. So we don't necessarily envision this as the only conversation we'll have over the next several months and subsequent years as we continue to work together to strengthen and enhance the city's arts and culture ecosystem. But we're really looking at this as really, you know, a baseline opportunity to hear about the challenges you've faced over the past couple of years, what you anticipate still facing as we continue to come out of the pandemic, what programs you're offering. You know, want to get excited about things. We at the city have programs that we're bringing back this year, so we're very excited about those. And then really get into how the city can support your work. We are focusing over the next couple of years, which Ryan will share more about, on engaging our community partners more closely in collaboration. We all know that, you know, you all are experts in arts and culture, and we want to be here to support you, amplify what you do as a way to bring more programs and services back to the community. So after we have that great discussion, we'll have some closing remarks and next steps. Reminder about the survey. We'll do a reminder again at the end of the night, and also email the link out after this event. And with that, I think I am going to talk to you about the goals of tonight's survey. This is why we do a run through, everyone. So tonight, again, we're here for the Mercer Island Arts Summit, and in working with the Arts Council, we identified 3 primary goals for this initial convening. So the first is to bring you all together. You all are providers and practitioners of arts and culture in the community, and we really wanted to introduce or reintroduce you all to each other and really think about how we can begin fostering that renewed sense of collaboration and connection. With that, we wanted to create this forum for you, local arts and culture providers, to both share your challenges, although we don't want to dwell too much on negative, but also, you know, your needs going forward. This is an opportunity to identify really great, you know, ways we can collaborate and keep conversations going and really strengthen our work together. And then finally, I know it's always really important to me to have clear next steps coming out of a convening like this. So we definitely are planning to communicate our next steps of how we can continue moving forward, both collaboratively and in order to continue fostering the connection. So with that, I think we're going to start our first poll. Haley?
Yes. So before we hand it over to Ryan, we're going to share a poll. So just want to make sure I'm sharing the right one. Here we go. So how are you currently presenting arts programs and services this year? Hopefully y'all can see that. We'll give you a few moments to fill this out. Great. Seeing more responses come through. So most of us doing a hybrid approach of virtual and in-person programming. A couple more seconds if anyone else wants to respond to the poll. Great, so it's looking like a mix of virtual, in-person, and then hybrid, and then one of us not doing programming right now. So thanks for this, just to kick us off, thinking about how we're approaching arts programs right now. I know it's kind of a mixed bag. We're excited to hear more about this as we get into our open forum discussion. And Ryan, you can take it from here.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Ryan Daly, your recreation manager. And first off, thank you everyone for being on this call. I'm sure many of you are like, oh no, another Zoom meeting. This is the last thing we need. I promise we are going to get together at some point as this group, so we can really see each other and continue this conversation. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about where we are as a city, or more specifically as a recreation division, as we progressed out of the pandemic. And I say out of because I believe we're moving forward. We're going to be offering more and more in-person opportunities, but still holding on to some of these virtual ones as well. For those of you who don't know, the recreation division was basically eliminated in 2020. And what we did during 2021 was take the opportunity to reset how we were operating. And I'm probably going to say this word about 100 times, and that word is opportunity. And really what we saw was the opportunity to look at a new way of doing things. So we've been rebuilding over 2022, and we'll continue that work into 23 and 24. But your recreation division provides a variety of elements. And one of those is cultural and artistic opportunities to the community. That doesn't mean we're the ultimate provider of those opportunities, but hopefully we're a collaborator, an enabler, and a partner in many of those. The other thing we offer, obviously, is facility management and booking services here at the community center, as well as our outdoor facilities. We utilize those facilities to create and provide those opportunities for community engagement, whether we as a city be coordinating those events, or whether we're relying on our different partners here, frankly, many of which who are on this call, to provide those opportunities. And we also provide the staff liaison support to the Arts Council and Parks and Recreation Commission. So both of those boards fall within the purview of the Recreation Division. So we work very closely as staff with those appointed individuals. So just to touch on a couple of the program and services that we offered in 2021 and now here in 2022, I am not going to read them all, I promise. But in 2021 was really a development year for us, onboarding a number of programs, and 2022 was sort of furthering that opportunity. And you'll notice in 2022, many of those services moved indoors. and started to create more gathering opportunities for the community. And I'll just highlight a couple of the specific arts and culture related elements that we've been focused on here in the first 2 quarters for the Recreation Division. And that was developing and updating our policies and procedures. A direct outcome of this conversation today will inform those policy updates and procedural elements that we'll be implementing later on this year and in 23 and 24 to support the various organizations as well as the programs that we offer as a city. We just had the Parks and Recreation Commission as well as the City Council endorse a sponsorship policy for special events. This directly translates to arts and culture related events. So there is an opportunity, and I'm not going to go into it too deep today, but if you want to reach out and you have ideas around an event that your organization may want to offer, there are ways to receive city sponsorship for those opportunities. And then we have a number of city events that we'll be coordinating this year, mostly Music in the Park. We have 5 different dates for that. We have a number of dates for Shakespeare in the Park at Luther Burbank. Those of you who are familiar with Illuminate MI, that's the winter lighting installation that we do in Town Center. Juneteenth is a new event that we'll be hosting this year, this June. And then we have a number of seasonal and Town Center focused events that we try to incorporate different artistic elements and cultural elements within. And of course, Summer Celebration coming back, which will have a very new look and be incorporating a number of cultural elements as well as the traditional fireworks and whatnot. Just to highlight another 2022, and because they're on this call, MyVol has helped us tremendously with the art gallery here at the community center, and we're actually working on some opportunities to expand that. And that's just I'll highlight, that's what partnerships are really all about. And I hope that we can take this opportunity with all of the various organizations on this call to further expand that. And the other service that we obviously offer is public art installations and curations here in the various park locations that we have. The arts and culture priorities for 2022. These were developed between staff and the Mercer Island Arts Council as part of the Recreation Reset strategy that I spoke about earlier as sort of our roadmap forward. And that conversation guided the 2022 Arts and Culture Work Plan. And the 4 key elements or priorities within that were to stabilize the Arts Council membership. We do believe from the city standpoint that having that board with a consistent membership, as well as a group who's dedicated to volunteerism and supporting city operations is really critical to being the voice of the arts community on Mercer Island, to inform staff as we move forward with implementing those different operational elements, programs, services, and policies that further that work here at Mercer Island. Additionally, we're working on the 23-24 City Arts and Culture Work Plan. I will be the first to admit 2022 was sort of a placeholder. It was getting our feet back under us. 23 and 24 is really when we're going to, I think, see an expansion. And that's where our team is really going to be dedicated to move forward. And then, as I spoke earlier, delivering a variety of programs, be it performing arts, visual arts, and other arts and culture related programming to the community. And finally, it's as I spoke earlier, it's developing those policy and procedures, meeting the needs that this group is going to share, removing barriers that may impact your ability to offer programs or your ability to partner with either the city or other organizations. This is our team. I had a classy photo we should have put in here instead of a blah organizational chart, but this is the team that is focused on delivering from a city standpoint those arts and culture related initiatives. And we have 9.5 staff members, and we're housed under the Public Works Department. Okay, the future, this is what it's all about. We're taking the input from the Arts Council, as well as the community to implement our future programming. That's directly informing what we're going to be doing in the 23-24 biennium. We're relying on our community partners. I talked about MyVol earlier in their support of the gallery and really filling a need that we had as a city to be able to offer that program. We're going to be relying on various organizations to meet those needs. The city's just not going to be in a position to be the primary provider of everything arts and culture. And I think that's a good thing. And then finally, we're going to be expanding services in 23 and 24, specifically the recreation programming side, which is the area we're not currently offering. So when you think about classes or program offerings specifically related to arts and culture, those aren't currently being offered, but will be in development and be implemented in 23 and 24.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So I'm going to stop sharing here, everybody. Before we get into kind of the conversational points of tonight, I just wanted to open it up. If anyone has questions for Ryan or other staff about what Ryan just shared, we're happy to answer your questions. Not seeing any hands.
Sarah, I would just jump in. Anyone on this call, please don't hesitate to reach out. One of the things I didn't mention, and I should have, your Arts Council is your forum. That is the opportunity for any member of the public to come in and talk about opportunities they'd like to see, or areas of expansion or areas of opportunity. So I openly invite all of you to participate in those meetings. Each one has public comment, and as Sarah knows, and I'm guessing most of you are getting the gist, I like to talk. So don't hesitate to reach out and have a conversation with either me or members of my staff. I think this is a really exciting time for us on this expansion and a new look at how we move forward. So with that, I thank you, and any questions are welcome, or private emails are helpful too.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So I think we have another poll or chat activity coming at you before we get into questions. Haley, can you remind me what's next?
Yes, so I'm your poll person tonight. So we do have another poll that we want to just hear from you all again. This one is asking, who are your primary audiences for your programs or services?
Okay. A lot of mix of both audiences, both Mercer Island residents and visitors. Great. Well, I think it's safe to say we have the group here who is primarily communicating or providing service to at least island residents, or maybe both. We have nobody only providing services to visitors from off island, but maybe that's a future goal we may all identify together in the future. Okay, so thank you so much for engaging in the poll. We want to get you engaging with each other now. So we're going to have you all kind of open up. You were great in introducing yourselves in the chat, and now in order to get the conversation maybe flowing a little bit and maybe to inspire each other, I'm really interested to hear what is the arts and culture event, activity, project, you name it, on Mercer Island that you're most excited for this summer? And I'm happy to go first to kick us off. I am really excited about the return of Shakespeare in the Park. They'll be coming back this summer, July and August, to Luther Burbank Park. So I'm really pumped to bring friends and family out there. I'm going to go to Carol Whitaker. Carol, what are you most excited about this summer?
Well, it's hard to say. There's so much. I mean, I'm excited that we're getting Summer Celebration back, but I'm also really excited that we're putting Junior Art Show primarily in the community center. for the first time. I mean, we did a smaller version in the winter, and we've done a shared show before, but this year the community center is going to be the primary place for our kids' summer art show, and I'm excited about that.
Great. How about you, Connie? What are you excited about?
Microphone on here. Well, I'm excited about mostly music in the parks. That's a really good one. And the summer celebration. And then the arts. And one thing I've absolutely missed is playing for the art installations and for the big events we have there. And I hope that I can come back and play some more again, because I've got lots of great music to share. But I just love seeing the different groups that come and do the mostly music in the parks. I know that my students just love going down and hearing the different kinds of groups too. So that's music, and art for me.
Great, great. How about you, Pamela?
You didn't see my message in the chat, did you? So hi, everybody. I'm the Arts and Ideas Director at the Strom Jewish Community Center. I will say, maybe because I don't do live programming in the summer, and just as a reminder, and maybe people don't know, but we did install a beautiful live streaming studio in our theater. So we have a 370 seat state-of-the-art live streaming theater. And so I think what I'm excited about is seeing that the community is coming to our space, recognizing that they have a huge asset in being able to do hybrid programming. And I don't know if those of you know it, but we're just launching it. We have our last programs coming up for the season. We just returned to live shows starting, I think, I've worked with Jesse Wesson, who's also on the call here, but we have two shows coming up June 11th and 12th. So if that's officially summer, I'm excited. We have a Grammy Award-winning musician named Joni Leeds coming. She won Best Children's Album last year, and really excited. She's performing with Hava Morel, and they are doing a family children's music show. So part of what we're trying to do is just get the word out to the community that we're an incredible asset to the community, and families should come to the Strom JCC for that show. And we have a comedian on June 11th, the night before. So June 11th and 12th. Other than that, I'm looking forward to enjoying the rest that Mercer Island has to offer.
Great. Okay, I'm going to put one more person on the spot, and then others, if you have ideas or thoughts, just throw them in the chat. Julie, what are you most excited for this summer?
Well, I am taking a year off from teaching art at the middle school. And one of the things that I was so excited about before the pandemic was collaborating with the city to showcase the students' work at the community center and other storefronts and things. And then the pandemic kind of threw that off. I'm just super excited to get back to the island and get really involved in the arts. And I'm excited to hear about the junior show being up at the community center. So I will be there to see that. And it's just so exciting to see everyone here working for the arts.
Great, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for letting me put you on the spot. As we go forward, please feel free just to use the raise the hand function. I'm not going to call you out by name if you don't want me to. But I think this is really helpful just to both, get us inspired, excited, but also to hear about programs that are coming online or back online this summer. I'm really excited to hear that the MyVol Junior Show is going to be back at the community center in full force this summer. We're really, looking forward to fostering more collaborations like that. So with that, to probably keep it positive, I have my first discussion question. I'd really like to hear more about what you all are able to offer this year and going forward. That includes, programs, events like we've kind of been talking, concert series, theater in the park. But also, you know, if you're a practicing artist, what are you working on this summer? What are some projects that could benefit from engaging with the community a little more, engaging with each other to bring them to the community? So put that out there. What are you bringing back, or what are you offering this summer and maybe into next year? And feel free to put things in the chat or raise your hand. Connie.
Well, I'm a performing musician, although all I've done is some live streams, and not too many of them in the last 2 years. But my daughter, Katrina Cope, is gigs all over the place and has even done the mostly music in the parks. But what I've found is I've gone to just a few concerts, just very carefully. And I have gotten to know a couple of just world-renowned a Spanish guitarist and a cellist. And I realized what I want to do. My mission is I want to bring music in a small setting to people. So families, to maybe outdoor concerts where people open up their homes, things where we can gather safely outside, not have too many, you know, germs spread around, and be able to get to know these world-class musicians. And so we are going to do the first one. His name is Gideon Freudman, and he's from Portland, just moved to Whidbey Island. And he'll be doing a concert at my friend Pat Benka's house on August 14th. So that's sort of my first one. I was hoping it would be in June, but then I have another friend, Andre Ferriante, who's prolific in what he does all over. And so Spanish guitarist, and just amazing. So that's what I want to start bringing. And I've always wanted to do this. And that's one of my things, is live music in a small salon setting. So you'll be hearing more about that from me. And I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this in a way that makes it where people can come that want to come, and we can do this safely. So that's what we're doing. My second thing is, with my teaching studio, I literally went online on March 4th, 2020, within 2 hours, 45 students, my students, and my daughter's 26. Within 2 hours, everybody was online, and they mostly happily went online. And that's the way it was for well over a year, and then a hybrid thing. What I find now is I am inundated with people who want piano lessons and voice lessons. So people want music. They want to learn an instrument. They realize the value. And we are only 2 people. We are bringing in 2 more teachers into our studio. But I really want to do something that was so important to me when we were working on at the MICA, as far as building a room that I could use for group piano and for working with parents of autistic kids. So it's 2 different topics, but one is to be able to encourage people to do some kind of soft lessons with piano, or just music wellness of some sort. So I'm going to be launching that program and just see what I can do with that. The other one is public speaking about my Music with Autism, Piano Keys to Autism program, because there's such a need. And so I think my next step is going to be on the island, just scheduling a public speaking engagement and bring some of my kids in. We can have an autism children's spectrum piano recital, so people can understand how brilliant these kids are. So that's kind of what I'm working on for summer and then going forward.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Getting a cat attack here. Sorry. And so just so too, you know, a couple of folks already added, you know, information about programs that they're offering this summer into the chat. So please use that function as an opportunity to share with everybody what you all are up to. Oh, hey, Anne. Yeah, talk to me, Anne. What are you up to this summer?
Yeah, well, I'll throw in what my ball is up to. So Carol talked about the Junior Art Show, which has been going on for years. And so we're happy to continue that. It did not get disrupted. It got relocated and rescheduled, but it's been moving. We also received a grant from the Mercer Island Community Fund to help with children's art programming at Music in the Park. So and also for summer celebration, we'll be there. And so we see that as a great linkage between the community fund and us and the city with most of the Music in the Park, to when people are out to bring others out so that we can share things at the same time. I think it makes for a much more exciting event. So we're looking forward to having art activities at Music in the Park. Art Uncorked is happening again this year. I don't know if that's on your radar yet with the new Chamber of Commerce person. That's going to be September 9th. So, and I don't know if the city is involved with that at all yet, other than giving some permits or scheduling things. But that's intended to be a full-scale Art Uncorked again. We'll have 20 artist tents, and the chamber is coordinating the wineries and music. So that'll be a live music opportunity there. And I don't think they have musicians yet. So Connie, there's a chance to talk to Jen Dean at the chamber. And I'm sure she's going to want some recommendations too.
Okay, great. I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's kind of the summer. We're just finishing up our high school scholarship program. We offered a few scholarships, and they will be on display at our gallery. Our gallery is a full-time ongoing operation right down in the center of town. I hope all of you have been there at least a few times. We have a great miniature show there now. We are trying to work to get our first Friday gallery opening events going again, but that's been a little bit challenging in terms of people wanting to come out. So we'll see how that goes this summer. We're not advertising them widely to try to keep the crowds down, but we'll probably try to do something on First Fridays, working with some of the other community galleries, Clark and Clark, Suzanne Czar. They usually participate as well. So I think that's kind of it for our summer activities, other than the art at the community center in the gallery there, which has been a great collaboration with the city. So we really are enjoying doing that.
Great, thank you. I think I just saw Stephanie's hand pop up.
Indeed. Hi, everyone. Sorry I was late. My name is Stephanie Bull. I'm the managing director at Youth Theater Northwest, and we have a huge summer coming up. We have our summer camps running, and then we also have 2 of our summer stock shows that are going to be on the island at Emmanuel Episcopal Church. And we're also working with the JCC for a couple of summer camps as well. So we're doing our best to keep our brains in our heads. But yeah, so we're really excited about summer and all the things. And it sounds like there's so much more summer programming happening as well, which is going to be really awesome for Mercer Island.
Go for it, Pamela.
Yeah. So since Stephanie was also mentioning summer, I tend to retract because people like Northwest Youth Theater do their job at the JCC to bring performing arts to the community, and I step back from curation for our stage. But I would like to maybe ask a question and put it in a parking lot, because we also run the Seattle Jewish Film Festival and have a Dolby Digital Barco Cinema in our theater, which is the same thing you'd get at AMC Pacific Place. But I'd love to know what's happening with movies, outdoor movies, because I've always found that to be a great opportunity for our JCC to collaborate with the city. And we are not committed to necessarily bringing Jewish or Israeli themed programming to the community. Last summer, and actually I was working with Jesse Wesson at the time, we brought Raiders of the Lost Ark for families. We brought Soul, and we had pizza party and outdoor lawn party. And so I just wanted to mention that I'd be loving to think about doing summer programming again and participating in that. In terms of just briefly, we're working on our season for next year. And obviously we've all been going through so much to think about what is the listening campaign that we can get from the community. So I just want to invite all of you. I'll put my email in the chat, but I would like to know what the community wants to see on our stage. We have things that we're thinking about next year. We recognized that unknown names are not drawing people out, right? So you have to bring somebody that's exciting enough, or an experience that's valuable, or there's an exhibit along with an art production. And so we're trying to create value added sixth sense experiences for people, of food engagement and so on, and conversation. So we're trying to figure out what that means, but we're looking at a thought leadership series, bringing thought leaders to Mercer Island, and that means nationally. That is going to be a 4-part series of speakers, kind of town hall Seattle type programs. And we're also, we previously pre-COVID had a comedian series, a film series, the film series will all be virtual. That's where we're sticking to virtual because people can watch over a 2-week period of time. But for the live stage stuff, we are returning to family shows, a couple of music productions, comedy, but we're still tepidly trying to figure out what the community wants. So that is a place where I would just also ask, doing a listening campaign, what does the community want, is something that we can all join together and maybe see what we hear. Not one of us can get that answer or response, but I'm very interested to know what people will come out for.
That's a really great point. I think, we've seen a lot of other kind of on a regional level, county level, arts and culture organizations banding together to do similar types of listening sessions. I know we have Jessie here from Inspire Washington, so I'm sure she'll share with us near the end of tonight's program what's going on at the state level. But, that is a really good opportunity where we can probably band together and share resources and information going forward. I really like that idea, Pamela. Okay, so I'm not seeing too many more hands, but if you do put something, or you want to share more, put something in the chat. And actually, Judith has already kind of segued us into our next question, more maybe on the things we need to work on side. So we're really interested to know, you all just described a lot of phenomenal programming, activities, things you're thinking about. Ways to re-engage the community with arts and culture as we continue to come out of the pandemic, as habits and interests have changed. But we know that you were likely still facing some challenges. So Judith put in the chat that one challenge is adequately promoting the arts on Mercer Island, and engaging the public in the activities that are available. So you all just rattled off a ton of opportunities coming up in the next few months, but I have a sneaking suspicion that you're maybe, worried about how to engage people, how to reach people, and let them know that those programs are available. So we know that awareness is always an issue, but what else are you facing right now? We want to know, kind of what hurdles you're still trying to overcome, or barriers to bring back more programs. And feel free to put that in the chat or raise your hand. And I already see Anne's hand up.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that because I don't want to lose that, because to me, it's one of the most important things that I think we need a communication vehicle for all of us to get the word out there as to what's going on, to solicit volunteers, to announce events. And we just don't have that on Mercer Island. The reporter is something that's going by the wayside. Next door, half the people I know have sworn it off because it gets so nasty and difficult. And Micah had started an arts calendar, but that's no longer active. But it seems like it would be a great opportunity for the city to establish a point on their webpage where if you wanted to do something on the weekend and figure out what's going on at Mercer Island this weekend, and if we all had our things there, I think it, and it became a resource that people really knew about and could rely on year after year to go to, I think that would hugely help all of us to get the word out there. So And it seems like the city would be a good place to have that calendar. I know that there's some of the realtors are putting out magazines, and they also have websites that have calendars, but I think they're less accessible to the entire community. So that's my suggestion, to think about how that might look from your side, that might reach everybody, that we might just get the word out, because I think all of us are trying to message what we're doing when it's going on.
I agree with that. Pamela added a good one to the chat. Paying artists requires ticket sales and audiences are not returning to pre-COVID levels. I hear that. Live stream costs are high. So, moving to live stream programming, we've heard a lot during the pandemic that organizations were able to reach thousands more audiences, but are they converting those audiences into longtime participants in the arts? It's unknown. So the costs are still there, and we may not necessarily be seeing the same turnout for programs. And I imagine, like me, maybe like all of you, there's a little bit of Zoom and live stream fatigue, but I'm also still not necessarily super eager to go out to too many in-person things yet. So we're in kind of this weird gray area of how do we present programs to people. Let's see, any more hands, any comments? I think one thing that we have struggled with on our side here at the city is just staffing capacity. And that means, both paid staff, but also volunteers. We saw a lot, again, sticking with the fatigue theme, we know that Mercer Islanders are very, very interested in volunteering. Their community connection is very strong in that way, but we've seen a lot of people really recognize that they probably stretched themselves too thin pre-pandemic, and now priorities have, changed or they've refocused. So thinking about how we engage volunteers again going forward, and really build up that base to help support our programs is critical. And that's a hard part that we're dealing with right now as well. Okay. Well, if you think of any others, I imagine most of them are pretty similar to what we were talking about. One of the things one of the reasons we want to know about your challenges, and I think Anne, you did a great job then segueing to this maybe last question that I'm hoping to hear from everyone on, but we are really interested in knowing how we can support you. And you set up a great example of maybe the city, through our resources, we're well equipped to coordinate communications efforts. I think that's a great idea. And there's other ways that we can support programs or amplify your programs, bring you all on as partners, but also at the higher level, advocate for arts and culture across the island, and really, strengthen that mindset that arts and culture is important to public health, community healing, and all of those things that I'm sure all of you already inherently believe. So I'm really just curious, hearing these challenges or thinking about your needs as organizations and individual artists, how would you like us to support you? What are you looking for from the city right now as we come out of the pandemic, and from the Mercer Island Arts Council? Julie.
Well, just what comes to mind as being in the schools, and we have a lot going on with showing student work at the schools and the showcase. I think it goes back to what Anne was saying, is just that letting people know that this is happening and putting it all together as a community rather than individual institutions would just be phenomenal, I think. Even, I was just looking on the Sun Valley website of the arts, and they have a lot of, obviously it's a different thing, but it's just great to be able to go to one place and see the calendar of what's all happening. So I don't know if that's a possible thing, but I know getting that information out, I think, is one of our biggest challenges, is just trying to let the community know Fine Art Showcase is happening this week and it's for everyone, not just the schools. So.
Yeah, Stephanie.
Okay. I think on our end, it's access to space, specifically on Mercer Island, and not necessarily space that doesn't exist, but space that already exists, and how we can use that to the best of our ability. And yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to second what Julie also said, which is in the Jewish community, we have like a calendar that we all share so that we don't do fundraising events at the same time, or that we don't step on each other's toes and plan over each other. And so the visibility, and I think one of the things that's challenging about a calendar is it's usually for public consumption by consumers. But we really want it for planning purposes too. So, you know, if Northwest Youth Theater is doing Fiddler on the Roof for 2 weeks, like I want to know when that's happening, you know, and I really think it would be a good thing to get ahead of some coordination so that I would never want to program over Art Uncorked or, you know, any of these amazing rubric events in the community, or a student art show, or maybe there's something that will amplify it. So having advanced knowledge of that, having a place to put tentative holds and confirm programs would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a couple comments in the chat. Sounds like MyVol is also looking for space. Visual artists, you know, looking to create art and teach art classes. Got interest or need for advocating for kiosks at the forthcoming light rail station. We haven't even poked that bear at all in this conversation, but we are waiting the arrival of a new light rail station, which presumably will mean opportunities for new audiences and people, you know, people to engage with our local arts and culture, but also more opportunity for islanders to leave the island and experience arts and culture off island. So how can we also keep them here connecting with everything that the local landscape already has to offer? But also a really great opportunity for marketing, maybe at those kiosks, as well as other good gathering points around the island. Let's see, got some upvotes for the shared planning calendar. I think that's a great idea. Also, you know, connecting digitally using QR codes. This is great. These are all things, you know, that we, the city, already have some infrastructure in place or already have some relationships in place. So there might be a lot of opportunity for us to, you know, take on some more of that coordination and amplify the arts on the island. What else are you thinking about in terms of your needs? Heard a lot about marketing support. Let's see, more space, places to show student art in particular. That's great. Are you all, you know, grappling with funding issues? That's been a lot of, you know, in my role working with the city the past couple of years to support local businesses, it's really been a focus on identifying new grant opportunities to stay afloat. But are you all struggling with those types of infrastructure needs or operational needs for your organizations? How's that been looking? Stephanie.
I think, if I may be so bold, I don't think anybody in the artistic world is not struggling with funding. I think, I think access to more grants, whether that be Mercer Island or statewide or something like that, to continue our programming would be great, because sometimes there are great grants out there that we just don't know about. And so we could apply for them, or we could be approved for them. We just don't know about them. And we all frankly don't have the time to research them because we're all busy trying to run 1,000,002 programs. So I think, I think funding and space are what I would say is the largest issue, at least on like YTN's end.
Great. And I think did you have a hand up earlier that I may have missed?
Yeah, it's not about funding, but it was just about the idea that I think after COVID, we're all just yearning to come back together safely. And when we can come back to safely, we need to reknit our communities. So I see really big opportunities for the arts community, all of arts community, book groups, music discussion groups. We hold a monthly meeting where we have artist demos, which has always been open to the public, but the public don't really know about it, and it's been on Zoom, so it hasn't been very accessible. But, I see that as the community center programming ramps up again, that interest groups could be developed to try to draw people out. We've had a lot of new people moving into town, and, I'm hoping that summer celebration, there'll be a really robust group of community booths there so that people can see what we have here on Mercer Island. So they know where they can make connections. But I think people are lonely and isolated and kind of yearning to find their people, and maybe they even have all new interests and hobbies and they want to find the knitting circle or whatever. But these groups are really deeply set in the community, and some of them, like that knitting group that's at Starbucks at the South End that meets on Tuesdays, you see them there all the time and they've been there forever, and it's just a feel-good thing. But I think the community center would be a great location, and the city getting behind getting the word out for some of those things. We could help facilitate certain specific interests, but really trying to encourage people to come out and meet some new folks and make new connections. So I see the community center as being the focus of that, because it has the space.
Great. I love that idea. Carol had added central hub for volunteerism. Again, connecting people to information and assets would be worth thinking about. Yeah, I think, we're all struggling with, again, that kind of capacity building in terms of people and bodies. So that could be a great opportunity. What else?
Sarah, this is Ryan. One of the things that was mentioned earlier, I think it was Stephanie mentioned it, almost a collaborative approach for the arts community to move things forward. And there was talk of the scheduling aspects and things like that. And that kind of has my wheels turning a little bit as a real big opportunity. I'm curious with those who are on the call, if they feel like they actually have time to dedicate to another aspect like that, which I do feel is very important. And we've seen this work very, very successfully on the athletic front, for those athletic organizations, cross supporting each other, looking at schedules, not stepping on toes, so to speak. I'm just wondering, I'd love to continue that conversation, and maybe today's not the day, but to me, that's a real opportunity area, and a place where I think the city could really leverage that group to help inform our programming as we go forward as well.
That's also a good point, Ryan, about maybe leveraging some of the successful examples that already exist on the island. So, something like that, organizing all of those specific groups, getting them working together, that could easily be something that we work towards for the arts community as well. Julie.
I just, that comes to mind when we get together with the music and the drama and, the whole district with the district calendar on Google. We all have our separate calendars, but we share our calendars so we can access that on our Google calendars, which makes it crazy looking if you add everyone's calendar, but it also allows us to plan ahead. So that's just one idea.
to kind of jump on that, I think it also helps us to identify the voids that we have. And I guess that's from a managerial standpoint within the city, that's maybe my worry, is what are we not providing? And that's not my area of expertise by any means, but that's what I really rely on the community to help provide. And I think the Arts Council does as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's another opportunity to really identify those gaps in programming. Yeah, Connie.
Well, I think a lot of us are kind of looking to see and learning, what are you going to put on now? Like now the camps are back running. And then the next phases. So for example, I saw that, the gym looks like they're pretty well set with pickleball and all these kind of things, senior walking. But then what about some of the other programs? I know you said 2023 is when you'd have more programs. For example, I forget what it was called, but the senior program that Leslie Sylvester ran, and I come in once a month and work with the adults with music.
Mm-hmm.
And is that going to come back on again?
I don't know. So this Connie, this is an excellent question, because you can't see it, but right over here I have our organizational structure for the next year, and the big circle is around recreation programming that hasn't been identified yet. So when we bring on in 2023 and 2024 the resources, the staffing resources to offer that programming, their first task is to identify community need and what should we be offering first. I'll tell you, it's going to be senior programming. That's going to be the primary. Youth programming is a close second, specifically preschool. Health and fitness will probably be the latter. When you look at Mercer Island, you have a lot of health and fitness, so that's something that can kind of wait. Arts and culture is right in the mix of every one of those items, except for probably health and fitness. And so that's where I'm going to be relying on this group to continue to share what could possibly be the opportunities that we push forward. We're at a very opportunistic time right now, where even though, like you said, the gym is sort of programmed, it is and it isn't. We've left ourselves a lot of flexibility to operate much differently than we did in the past, to be more nimble, to meet community needs and offer diverse programming. I think we got locked into a couple of areas where we lost our flexibility to meet community need. And that's what I really want to make sure that we retain. So that was a long-winded answer to sky's the limit right now. I haven't put together the program proposals and that staff isn't on board yet.
Okay. I'm going to throw this out here real quick. And that is, you have the Clavinova that we helped get, the digital piano.
Yep.
And would this be the right time to do a group piano, or something where I come in, or somebody like me comes in and see if people want piano lessons through the community center? Just think about that. You don't have to answer.
I'll give you the very short answer to everything. The opportunity is definitely there if an organization wanted to partner in some manner. The city wouldn't be in a position right now to necessarily develop any sort of programming and go much beyond that, but a rental or a reduced rate rental or a partnership of some aspect is 100% on the table, and I welcome all of the opportunities that might come forward.
Okay, great. Yeah. Good answer.
Thanks. I practiced it.
Carol.
I'm changing the subject a little bit, but it occurred to me that one of the other challenges we've had over the COVID years was how to strategically use technology. And one of the things that's circulating in Myvel's world is what to let go of, but what to maintain. Because we found that, I'll give the example that Sarah and I both worked on. When we did the lanterns in Mercerdale Park, we got a call from one of the retirement communities asking if they could take our slideshow and show it through their CCTV. And it reminded us that there's an opportunity out there to do some of the things everyone's talking about, which is to connect community by strategically using, technology. I'm not suggesting, we're not even doing it anymore. Not everything is going up online. We're making choices about what to put up and what not. But I think that may also be a place where there may be some ability by the city to help either with a hub or, I don't know what, advice, but, what the community needs and what they want to see online to supplement the kinds of things that they are getting in person.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The technology issue is something that I think we're going to continue to grapple with. So I like your phrasing of strategically thinking about how to use it going forward. Great. Well, of course, we're always open and available. As Ryan has mentioned, every opportunity is on the table right now as we continue to rebuild as a city and as an organization, our programming. And we really want to do that collectively. So, we really appreciate you sharing your needs and your challenges with us right now. We're going to be able to, really use this information going forward to identify how we move forward better and together. I see a hand from Ryan.
I know I'm not supposed to chime in this often, but I do have a question for the group that maybe we didn't necessarily ask yet, and that's I'm wondering as the Arts Council goes down the road of evaluating policies and procedures, have you experienced or do you feel like there may be barriers to working with the city or partnering with the city? This should be evaluated, and if you don't feel comfortable throwing Ryan under the bus right now, that's completely okay. But it's something I think we as a city want to be very cognizant of, to remove any of the red tape, the barriers that may be impacting you. So I'm just kind of throwing that to the group if there's ideas there that we should be looking at from an Arts Council standpoint.
Carol.
Well, this is not quite throwing you under the bus, but my first response was no. I mean, we obviously have a great working relationship with you guys, and your staff is terrific, and we're just more than pleased that we've been able to do things in a time where nothing is getting done. But one of the things that I am aware of as the MyVel Zoom liaison to the Arts Council is that some of the stuff gets done outside the actual meeting and doesn't get pushed back to the liaison, for example, or to other people in the community. And I understand why. I mean, I'm there and I'm involved with it and I get it and I catch up again. But it does raise that issue for me is it's hard to react to it or comment on it or move with it in a more real-time way when we're so bifurcated right now. And I assume some of that will go away over time. We're stuck with it now, but being aware of that, I think, would be helpful. I mean, I feel, and I'm very well informed about what's going on in Arts Council. That I'm playing catch up sometimes at the meetings, which is fine. I'm not a primary player, but just because there's a lot of stuff going on and I'm not sure it's getting out to the community in a way you would want it to be getting to the community.
Excellent point. That's super helpful.
Elizabeth.
I have to say, when Carol said a hub, that excited me. Because when we were trying to get Micah going and all that, that's exactly what we had. And we were trying to get a calendar together that we could have on the website so people could go on there and find different things they want to do on the island, first of all, but then possibly off the island, maybe there'd be a list or something. And I know I felt very disconnected during COVID from everything, when you don't even want to go to the grocery store for a long time. And usually I go there and I see 12 people I know, and then I hear all the stuff that's going on. And that has not happened. So I think we've all become way more introverted and a little more awkward in our communication. So a hub would be a really great thing, or even being able to, put that in some sort of circular thing to where we can add our things. Hey, this is going on, as we think about it, and be able to help launch each other's flyers or different things.
Yeah, that's great. Elizabeth, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I just want to say that this has been so fantastic, and getting this input and this feedback from everyone is really wonderful to really inform what the Arts Council does, because we're here really to support the arts on the island. And so that's really helpful. And I totally agree with the consensus that we really need a central place where we're getting that information. I mean, I have an elementary school kid and I have a middle schooler, and so I get emails from the school that tell me when there's arts things, right? And I'm familiar with YTN because my daughters do, theater there, but I don't know what's going on at the community center. I mean, I don't know, I'm not getting that information. So a central place where we can get all of that, it seems like a really, really great idea. And I don't think it would be that difficult to implement, would it, Ryan?
I actually don't. I feel like we're behind in not offering that kind of thing. And so it was mentioned earlier about the Mercer Island Reporter was an opportunity, and that was an opportunity we always used. But I feel like we need to be, and this, again, I always put it back on the group so I don't get held responsible. We got to come up with the next best thing. What is going to meet our community's needs? And that's where staff is going to lean on, putting it right back on you, Elizabeth, on the Arts Council and on our community partners to really decide what that looks like. But as Sarah mentioned, the city might be the best position to offer this opportunity, and so that's something we need to talk through.
Absolutely, and I'll take that back on, Ryan, and then I'll assign you to fix it. But also, I just want to encourage everybody that's on this call and even who's not to please reach out to the Arts Council. Reach out to myself, come to our meetings and speak, because we need to know what you need. And I'm very passionate and supportive of the arts and having accessibility and space and support, but we have to know what you're looking for and what you need. So please reach out to us. Thank you.
Great. Well, before we wrap up tonight, she's been on this call all night with us, listening to the conversation. Jessie Wasson from Inspire Washington is here, and we're really just hoping that you, Jessie, could just let us know what Inspire Washington is up to, so we can start to put all of this conversation that's happening locally on Mercer Island in more of the regional and statewide context.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessie Wasson. I'm the Programs and Operations Manager for Inspire Washington. I'm also an island resident. I've lived here for almost 10 years now. I worked at Youth Theater Northwest for 6 years and also at the JCC for about 1.5 years. So I am well engrossed in the arts and culture in the Mercer Island community and have been for many years. But now I work for Inspire Washington, so I have a much bigger statewide focus, which is really great because most of my family is spread all across the state, which is really fun. So for those of you who don't know, Inspire Washington, we are your statewide advocacy organization for science, heritage, and the arts, or what we call the cultural sector. So when I say culture, that's who I mean, not just arts and culture, but also our science partners and our heritage partners. So what that boils down to is public funding and public policy that celebrates the arts and culture. So I could go on and on about all that we do, but I'm guessing in this limited period of time that what you most want to hear is about the state funding that is coming to all of you. So we work very diligently and very hard within the Washington State Legislative Session, which wrapped in March just recently. And we were able to secure a historic number of funding for the cultural sector this year. Altogether, close to $75 million. $45 million of that will be allocated to arts and culture programs and businesses with budgets under $5 million. And that is what I want to talk to you about right here and right now. So this funding is being distributed by the Department of Commerce in partnership with ArtsWA. We are kind of the outreach partner for the Department of Commerce to provide information. Manny, my colleague, and I, we're going to 16 different cities all around the state with our Cultural Futures Share and Listening Tour, and doing outreach to providing communities about information for this particular grant. So actually, I'll drop the link in the chat about the tour. So if you can if you have time and can come to one of our actual events to hear the full story, that would be really wonderful. We're coming to Bellevue on June 28th. We're coming to the PNB school over in Bellevue. It's free, by the way. Anyone, public is welcome to come. It's free. But the gist is, this grant portal from the Department of Commerce will open at the end of June, somewhere between June 20th and June 27th. The date is yet to be determined. Any organization with a UBI or an EIN, for profit or nonprofit, either way. This also can include like private businesses who are just LLCs, as long as they have a UBI, they qualify, and fall under the banner of arts, heritage, science, meaning like community organizations that specialize in culture. Really, any of you will qualify. And you can get a grant of up to $75,000. Now that's a big range, right? So there's some organizations that will get 20, some that'll get 50. It'll really depend on how much loss you had during the pandemic. That's what this grant is all about. It's about identifying cultural businesses that experience loss, financial loss during the pandemic. So they're going to look at your 2019 P&Ls or 990s versus your 2021 and 2022 P&Ls and 990s, compare the two, and then determine your loss. Now, the loss is determined purely by revenue, earned revenue. So like if you didn't, if you missed out on selling lots of tickets, but made up for it in donations, that doesn't matter to them. They only care about your earned revenue. If you lost revenue, and they will applaud you for filling the gap with donations, but that's not something that they're looking at. It'll be a super simple grant application. You can fill it out on your phone. It'll take you, once you get your financial documents in order, it should take you 20 minutes to fill out the application. It is a qualifying grant. It is not a competitive grant, meaning they're not going to like pin galleries up to each other and say which one is better and fund that one. It doesn't matter. If you meet the eligibility requirements, you will get funding. There's plenty of money to go around. So this funding will start to be distributed in mid-July, and everyone will have their money by the end of August. So it's happening soon in really significant amounts. And we're super excited about it. I'm going to drop some links as well as my email. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about funding for your organization and how to get it and what you should know. But I also just really hope you all join us for our Cultural Futures Tour in Bellevue. It would be great to see you out there. Do you have any questions about that? About any of what I just said? Happy to answer questions.
It doesn't look like it. Thank you so much for sharing that exciting news, Jessie, and thank you for everything that I'm sure you and Manny did in terms of advocating for that funding for the cultural sector across the state. That's such a huge investment, and we know that our cultural sector has just been pummeled by this pandemic and was pummeled early on, since we were the epicenter for it in the very beginning. So thank you so much for all of your work.
I was working at Village Theater at the time and got laid off out there. So yeah, I am with you all. I fully understand.
Well, thank you so much. Great. And Jessie dropped her information into the chat. Just so you all know, we will be sharing this information out, as well as a summary of all of the feedback you've provided tonight. And I actually think that is a good segue to our closeout for tonight. Let me just share my screen again. So as I mentioned at the top, I'm really into tangible next steps and communicating them. So as a reminder, tonight, when you get out of this conversation, please complete the Art Summit survey. Maybe Haley, you can drop the link in the chat again, so it's at the top for everyone to access. It's a pretty quick survey, and we just would love to get both your input as well as, your ideas. You all shared so many great ideas already tonight, so thank you. And what are we doing next? We plan on keeping this conversation going. As I just mentioned, we'll share a summary of the feedback with all participants, so you all can engage with each other, get each other's contact information, and also have a record of what we've talked about here tonight. Our door is open, my door, Ryan's door, Elizabeth's door, as members of the Arts Council. So if there are other ways we can keep you in the loop over the next few months as we continue our planning work, really to kind of bring back our arts and culture programming, please let us know. It sounds like that is, staying updated on what the city itself is doing sounds like something that you all would be interested in. And we're going to get to work specifically with the Arts Council. So the next Arts Council meeting, regular meeting, will be July 20th at 6:30 via Zoom. We welcome everyone to attend or watch the meeting later. At that meeting, we will be reporting out on this event and starting to work with the Arts Council on next steps. In particular, using your feedback that we've received tonight to confirm those arts and culture priorities for the next 2 years, 23 and 24, and start thinking about our city arts and culture work plan, because the city is back in budget planning mode. We are just at the beginning of our 2023 and 2024 biennium budget planning process. This is a process that we do every 2 years to set our budget, and we will be kind of continuing the process through the summer and into the fall. So it's really critical for us to have all of this information that you've shared with us tonight. But it's just a starting point for how we'll be thinking about our arts and culture priorities and our work going forward. So please make sure to fill out the survey, attend the Arts Council meeting on July 20th, or watch it later. Arts Council members are also available at any time to hear your needs and ideas. They all have city email addresses. So please reach out to them, because the Arts Council is, our public forum for engaging the community in arts and culture. But beyond that, we'll continue to keep you all updated. We'll share out feedback and make sure everyone has, information that we've talked about tonight, including other contacts, information about what Jesse just shared as well. So with that, I am going to close it out. If anyone has any comments or questions, please reach out to us. We really appreciate you all being here tonight. And we hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you, everybody. Great to see you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.